On this video. Recording in progress. All right, welcome everybody. This is Five to Thrive, and we are on day 4 of how to sell in stories. So we are so excited to have you guys. So let's share the screen and get right to it. In just a second. Last time when I did this, it recorded on this side, so I want to make sure it doesn't do it. I think we're good now. All right, Five to Thrive. We are on day number 4, how to sell in stories, as I said, and we're just going to talk all things stories and how to relate. So, how to sell in stories. So, you have learned that reels are the place to bring in new people, right? It's a place where you're going to attract the following. It's a place where you are going to engage with a new following and you're going to bring new people in, you're going to grow. But stories is where you're going to connect and you're going to show your business off and your products daily. Like, this is where you're really going to engage and show people like who you are, right? So, I put some examples here. You can show your coffee. It's your day to day. Be vulnerable. If it's a hard day, like share that it's been a hard day because we have hard days. We have them. Your personality. This is where you can be quirky. You share a funny meme. If you love memes, share the meme. If you love Bible verses, share the Bible verse. Like be you. Be you on your stories. Inspiring words, what's been hard, showing products daily, especially once we get like the glow drink and the new tropics, guys. You can just be like, talking about your dog and doing the things. And you just want to show like repetitions as well of like what your daily life is like. So this is how you sell is you get to know people, right? People don't buy from a business on Instagram. People don't buy from because they see an amazing product. They buy because they connect with a person. Okay. That's why it's called social selling. That's why it's community marketing. So we want to tell a story. So an example of this is share a series of stories about your morning routine, highlighting how you use a product or anything like over and over again. You can show your skincare routine. That is a really, really great one, guys. We are going to have a very, very simple skincare routine that is going to make us all glowing. Okay. And literally, you can also go live. We haven't talked about lives yet, but you could go live morning and night if you want. But you could also just press play, talk, do your moisturizer, put a serum on, whatever. Like make that normal, a part of your routine in your stories. Repetition shows others like your routine, but then it also just like it lets them in, right? Like I can't tell you how many people have messaged me personally, like when I'm voice messaging them and be like, oh my gosh, like it's so funny you said that. Like I just feel like I know you, like if I reach out to them about something on their profile or, they might swipe up and be like, I literally feel like I know you, Alexa, and I've only been following you for like a week and we've never talked before. Like, that's what I want. I want people to think that they know me and like to let them into my life enough to where they feel vulnerable to talk about things, right? Because like this business is personal. This business can change lives and it's going to. We haven't fully had maybe those full testimonies of like, this was my life before sold, this is after, because it hasn't been a full month, but we're going to have that. Like, do you realize like that could be your story? Like, bring people in because right now, if you're in soul and you're like, I started this because I have to save money every single day just to do X, Y, and Z. I can only buy one coffee a week because the budget doesn't allow it. Like it could be something small like that. Or it could be like, no, I had to go sell baby clothes in order to get gas money. Like that's where I'm at, like people are going to relate to that because how many people have gone and sold baby clothes because they need some extra money? Yes, you probably have, or gone anywhere to sell something extra for extra money, right? So bring people along the journey. I think a really big mistake people do as soon as they join something like this because they see the success, they see what soul can do for them. And we have an incredible comp plan, guys, like incredible comp plan. And it is going to bring you that money and revenue and extra stream of income, but don't act like you've arrived before you have, okay? Your ad advancement, that's not the right word. Your I don't know what the right word is, but the best thing that you can do is bring them on the journey with you and show that you haven't arrived yet. Because even if it takes you 3 months to build that with your following, you can go back and be like, remember when I was saving money for this and I didn't have enough money for this and I couldn't buy that, name brand thing because I was on a budget? Like, they're going to remember that. The people who are with you are going to remember that. And that's what we want in stories, guys. We want to show the heart. We want to show who you are step by step. So, behind the scenes content, yes, share testimonials and reviews. Like, this is also where you can share other people's testimonies and reviews. You want to show people that you're human and that other people are human. That's really like the main goal here, is showing that you're a human being and you're not just like some bot behind the screen, right? Educational content. Yeah, this is where you really educate. You're not going to like go into depth about the Soul Glow and all of the, ingredients and different things on a reel. You're probably just going to be aesthetic and being like, ooh, it's pink and pretty. And like, this is why, you're going to do that because you're going to engage. People will follow you, etc. Okay, so think of it in that way. Your launch posts. Okay, I feel like sometimes I have been in areas where, or maybe other companies, and they just talk about launch posts like crazy. Do it however you want, guys. You can soft launch, you can hard launch. You don't have to make a reel, you don't have to make a post. You can do it just in stories. But I do say at least put it in your stories and then you can do it elsewhere. This was my post, but I also made it into a reel. And this type of thing, I'm going to talk about building on your stories. Like this is one story, right? But they're going to click next chapter, click, read more, click, read more. Same with the carousel, which we will talk about carousels tomorrow. But this is a really great way just to get a lot of information out that looks really good. I know in the beginning for me, I really struggled with fonts on Instagram. Fonts can look blurry, fonts can look chaotic with like the picture. So where I felt like I could thrive in the beginning, where I was just learning, is I screenshotted notes and I just added it to everything and it looked so good and it's so easy. Okay, so do that if you feel like your fonts are blurry, etc. Because like if you add a filter on, I don't know, actually, no, I do know. When you add a filter on your story and then you put like certain fonts, it'll make the fonts blurry. So just know that like filters are not your friends on Instagram, whether it would be on stories or your reels. Like try your best not to do filters because it messes up your content like crazy. So stick to not. And another tip, especially with reels or stories, if you do want to show like your font and you feel like it doesn't show up, like the light would blend into those clouds, what you can do is on your phone, go into the picture and lower the exposure. So that won't mess up blurriness, etc. But that's like my big tip of like if you need it to be darker or something. Because I tried doing like low expo filters and it always makes it blurry. So just do that. But this is something very easy and this tells your story. And this can be your first highlight, guys. Like you've done your content pillars, you're working on building up your highlights at this point. You know what your account's about and you know what direction you're going. This is a really good way to talk about the business, talk about all three pillars all at once, and then giving them a call to action, right? Comment son, swipe up and say son. Do this. I would recommend saying like swipe up for son or something like that for this if you want it on your highlight, because if you do a call to action that's like a click sticker, that only works for 24 hours. So having something more like long-term like this on your page will be really good. But this tells your story, right? Why you chose Soul, how you're incorporating everything together. I very much recommend doing something like this. And you can get on and talk too, but I'm all about multiple vehicles, if you will. So okay, these are just like two other examples. Yeah, these are ways to do attraction marketing, like in the very beginning when we were launching. And so it begins. Like this can be very simple, guys. Once you launch, you want to start to kind of create that attraction marketing. You can do this before you launch too. But like saying stuff like, I know I said never again, but and it's just a picture of a computer. People that you know are going to swipe up and be like, what are you talking about? So it begins. What are you talking about? This is about to be life changing for my family. What are you talking about? God's timing is everything. I cannot wait to show you what I've been up to. Girl, tell me what you've been up to. The first check covered groceries for this week. Like, even just like little things like that. It's enticing, it's attraction. People are going to ask you questions, and you want to do that throughout. Like, these four are kind of more like before you start or as you start. But this one is a really great attraction marketing tool as you get started, right? As you're building your story. So very simple. Doesn't have to be crazy, but it's cute and it looks good. Um, that's another one. That's like the first day in and how crazy it was to me, and just like letting people know how I've been feeling about it all. So, all right, I'm going to give it over to Carly. She is amazing at stories. I love watching all her stories. So much cool, so much color, but she just does such a good job. Wow, I can talk. So, does such a good job. So, listen up and take notes.
Awesome. All right. So I feel like stories for me, I'm constantly trying to share a story of my day while also incorporating the reel that I made, whether it was the day before, the day of, incorporating it so it feels like natural. So I just wanted to walk you through like a few series that I've done as an example of how I've done that. So this one below, I attended a women's conference. So I showed bits and pieces of my day at the conference. And then I ended up sharing a reel, and it was just about community and friendship. But you can tell that I'm wearing the same outfit as well. So it kind of ties everything together. And then this is real life, you guys. This is a reason why I started Soul. The coffee picture, I saved money up for that day to buy that coffee. And that's where we're at financially. I help my mom run a homeschool center. My husband has an amazing job as a physical therapist, but we have student loan debt that is almost as much as our mortgage, you guys. It is so insane. And so this past year, we've really, really struggled paycheck to paycheck, finding different ways to find money and budget and figure it out. So, because the homeschool center is not open during the summertime, my hours are dropped even more. So, Soul literally came at the perfect opportunity for me. And this is real life, sharing real life situations. And a short-term goal of mine is to have a paycheck every single month that I don't have to save up money to buy a coffee at an event that I'm going to with a bunch of girlfriends. And so that was just like a vulnerable moment. But then I was able to turn that moment into a potential selling opportunity by putting that same image again and just having a swipe bar. Do you want more financial flexibility in your life? Like, easy, not talking about Soul, not talking about the business, but just a general question. And then later on, I will talk about following up in your DMs and how you can then start the conversation about Soul. But just bring your audience into your day and then incorporate selling naturally where it fits into your life. Oh, I don't have the clicker, Alexa. Okay, here's another example of like this reel has nothing to do with Soul. It has nothing to do with selling. It has everything to do with connection. This video was all about getting your color back. A lot of moms know, like, once you have kids, you kind of like are just figuring out who you are again because you knew who you are before kids, and then now you're just trying to find yourself again after kids, and it's different, but it's still beautiful and it's still amazing. So my reel was about finding your color. And then I asked some questions. Do you have your color back? Getting your engagement in your stories, asking the questions so that people, when they're swiping through your stories, feel connected. There's actually interaction happening, even if like you're not face to face with somebody. And then actually sharing my reel into the stories with my answer of like how I'm getting my color back. And then I go into a vulnerable post again. So one struggle I had before finding my color, and then I go into sharing kind of a little bit of my story with being overwhelmed and always feeling just like down and hard on myself, and ended up going through this long process of being diagnosed with ADHD, going to counseling and getting different tips to help with coping, and then actually being prescribed medication and all the things. And then I was able to bring Soul Vibes into that story with, you know what? I actually don't love taking medication every day, and I would love to not have to take it every day. So, what is something that I can do to not do that anymore? And potentially, Soul Vibes is that answer for me. So again, a little interaction slide of like who else needs a brain boost? Like all of us, seriously, you need a brain boost. If you're a mom, I feel like if you don't need a brain boost, like what do you want? Because we need it. And I feel like that's what Soul Vibes is going to do for me on the days that I'm really not needing my medication. To be able to like go throughout my day without feeling so overwhelmed with like the tasks that are building up. So yeah, again, just using stories naturally in your reels and then incorporating them into your stories to connect and then sell. You don't want to sell and then connect. People are going to skip that. Connect with your story and then incorporate sales. And then this is the final one. I'll jump through it pretty quickly, but again, in my reel, I'm not even talking about my personal what I said yes to. I'm talking about what I say yes to with my kids as a mom. So connection outside of the business, outside of what I'm saying yes to, is being a yes mom, saying yes to fun activities with my kids, letting them be hands-on in the kitchen, and just realizing that it makes life so much better being like a yes mom in situations that you can be. And then going into what I've actually said yes to. So it still didn't even start out with Soul. It started out with this silly little coffee trend, and then showing what happened in my life with like my Instagram blowing up, and then doing something silly. And then it led to saying yes to Soul, and then incorporating again a question: who wants to say yes to something silly? Like we all want to have big dreams and goals and say yes to these little, what we think are silly, but they're not silly, you guys. They're amazing goals that each one of us have. And on the other side of the camera, when people are scrolling through this, they're like, whoa, I want to say yes to my dream. I want to say yes to my goal. And then that simple interaction opens the door. And then again, I go in and use face-to-face conversation about my story. So a little like, all right, you guys, this company Soul literally came at the perfect timing. And then I go into a little brief overview of my story. Oh, and why I'm saying why to Soul. And then I have a question box. What are you saying yes to this week? Again, it has nothing related to Soul, but I'm now bringing it back to them and having them answer the question, even if it doesn't involve Soul or a business. You're now getting to know them, and they're answering so that you can get to know them. Like they want you to get to know them. And so that's when they answer those questions in the question box. And then following up in your DMs. So this is really, really important, you guys. When people tap the stickers, when there's interactions, when they answer questions, when they DM you, it is so important to follow up, because this is where the relationship happens. This is where someone, like Alexa said earlier, feels like they know you and they feel like you care about them. And I personally feel like it's genuine when I'm getting to know somebody, but if that's really hard for you to open up, try to just get to know them on a surface level. Like hey, what do you do for a living? How many kids do you have? Like, what do you like to do for fun? It's super simple questions that allows conversations to open up. So here, what are you saying yes to this week? Someone had answered about like being able to balance everything in life. And I was able to share my story about like, you know what? I don't think balance is what we're after. I think it's about like what's a priority in that day. And it's okay if work takes over that day. And it's okay if kids take over that day. And it's not necessarily about balance. For me, it's about priorities within the day, even small priorities. So being able to share my perspective on that and have some relatability and then incorporate soul again with this is kind of how I'm doing it at home with a network marketing business and being able to stay home with my girls versus going out and trying to find a job. And then I wanted to give some examples of how I follow up in the DMs because sometimes you just don't know what to say because you don't want to come off like weird or pushy. I try to type how I text, and then I typically follow up with a voice memo. Um, if they have responded to a slide, I always swipe up and then I respond directly in that message area because then it shows in on their side that that's what they responded to. So they know I'm not just like sharing this information out of the blue. It shows like, hey, you voted on this, so now you're getting a response. And you can direct people in the way that like they've responded. So the brain boost, like you have to get on the soul train. I'm so excited about vibes and how much of a game changer it's going to be. If people are voting about finances, I would love to share how I'm growing my community to create more financial freedom and then going into the business. Um, when I was trying to share this Vibe to Thrive with people, I connected with a reel. Like if you want IG tips, comment and I'll share the video that Alexa had created earlier. And then I followed up with a voice memo first, sharing like, hey, this is actually our soul team. I'm super excited about it. We're helping people grow on Instagram too. After you've watched it, let me know if you have questions about soul. And that way they're not just like, oh, what is this soul stuff? What did she send me? But they were prepared for it. And if they have questions, then they can follow up. And if they don't have questions, that's totally okay. And they might not respond. Also, it's totally okay. And maybe the next week they'll answer something else and you'll have another opportunity. Or maybe next week you thought of them because you saw their profile and how they have 3 boys under the age of 3, and you send them a funny reel because it reminded you of them. That is connection and that's following up in your DM.
I also wanted to add to this too, because this is so important, guys. I feel like often we feel like a failure when people don't respond to us, but you are opening the door because when they see a piece of content later on or, a success of yours as you thrive in this business, people are watching. The people are watching, okay? And if they need something and they're like, "Ooh, wait, she made an extra 500 from this. Like I saw this or I saw how she did this." Like, oh, and she already messaged me. I can voice message her. Like it's so much easier to message someone who's already messaged you. So don't be afraid to be that person. I've had people vote on like 5 different things and I always follow up. I send exactly what I send to everyone when they click my sticker. And then sometimes after the 5th one, they finally respond. You just don't be discouraged by it. Like yeah, it's just what it is. Like you just gotta keep sending out the info. And yeah, voice messages, guys. I was going to screenshot a bunch of mine, but they're all voice messages, so it's not very helpful. So I live by voice messages. I'm a mom too, and I'm too busy to type. I hate typing out a paragraph. I hate it so much. So voice message, and if you're not comfortable with voice messages, get over it. Learn to get over it because I'm telling you, it will set you and your business apart. Okay. I've had 2 people today be like, I can't believe you voice messaged me. Like, that's so genuine. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, all these people always talk. Anyway, I'm telling you, it will set you and your business apart. So wanted to add that in.
I don't know if Kelsey's on here, but Kelsey, that message about vibes, we had gone back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like our conversation is long, long, long. And there was no pressure from my end, but she did continue to engage. And so I would just follow up with her and share, like, hey, there's no pressure, but this isn't more information since you answered this question. And guess what, you guys? She's now a part of Soul. Like it's taken since the beginning, but it's an awesome relationship that we also now know each other, and the conversation is so natural, and it just like we've gotten to know each other. It's not just like, oh, I'm just continuing to hassle her about it, you know? And we're jumping into examples from Chelsea now.
Hello, everybody. I was saying to Alexa and Carly before this call, stories are not my expertise per se. I feel like I have a lot to learn from these girls, but I wanted to share some examples. Actually, they're not soul related. They're from what I was up to before soul, but it's where I could find like the examples that had more of like, I guess the sequence that I'm like looking for and that I wanted to show as an example and highlight. But this one I would actually consider you guys a hard sell. I saw that Carly and Alexa use some really great like soft selling examples. And this one is like I was actually in the middle of a launch. I had launched a new digital branding guide. And so this was something that I wanted to share because especially with us being in the pre-launch phase right now, there is a lot of like there's a lot of potential for us to answer questions that we think our potential brand partners or customers may have before we even officially open those doors. So I used an example here where I'm answering a question that somebody sent me directly. So right off the hop, if I'm having a conversation with someone where they're asking me about my product or my offering or something that I've shared, I am going to use that as an opportunity to answer their question to the masses. Always use a question that you can to answer to the masses, because the chances are if one person has that question that somebody else does, and maybe they just haven't had the nerve to ask you, or they just felt like they can't ask you, or they're nervous, or whatever the case is. So I always use a chance when someone asks me a question to answer it publicly with their permission. Of course, I like to ask for their permission. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but like if you know what I mean, yeah, Alexis, I don't ask permission. You can always just like take their photo or their name or whatever out of the thing too. But anyway, here someone was asking me, I got to zoom in here because I didn't make my slides that big, but they saw my post about my branding guide and it made them realize that they had become the insert your company person here. And this is something we talked about on previous trainings, like avoid becoming like just known for your brand. And we're talking about building a personal brand. And that's exactly the type of product that I was selling in this situation. And so I just went into storytelling about exactly like why having a personal brand is so valuable, like the benefits of it, how it can create income security, new opportunities, and it just sets you up for so much more potential growth than boxing yourself into a company. And so I went over that in the next couple of slides, and I just painted the vision of possibility of like what having a personal brand can actually do for you as a network marketer. And then I invited them to just reply a keyword, and I would send them the link to this guide for them to check out and see if the guide was a good fit for them. And then at the end, I put a question box and invited people to ask any other questions that they had about personal branding, not just about my product, but about the topic as a whole. Because number one, I could then use that as an opportunity to overcome any objections or questions they had about my offer. But I could also use those new questions as future content. So having people ask you questions is such a blessing because you are given the tool right there. You're given like a content topic. Like if you're wondering what the heck should I post, start putting question boxes in your stories about every content pillar you have, and people will ask you the questions that you can go create a reel and you can create a story series. So that's kind of how I repurpose this in this situation and did more of like it was a kind of a hard sell in the sense that I was like very specifically talking about the thing I was going to be offering. But painting my offer and positioning it as the solution and then bringing it back to them, like Carly said before, at the very end to then serve them further. Uh-oh, my baby's awake. I'm gonna text dad. Okay. I'm gonna zoom in on this one. Okay, so this one is a little bit more of like a personal story and a little bit more like of a vulnerability story, but I also like still tied it into what it is that I was offering at the end. Um, so motherhood is a pillar of mine. It always has been. And so in this story, I just shared some pictures of me and my kids and things that we had been doing over the last couple of weeks. It's funny because in the first two, you see that it's like winter, and the next ones we were in Mexico, but they were literally like days apart. So it makes sense, like if you were following along with me. But I highlighted how like my kids used to be my excuse and like the thing that I felt like was my reason for not being able to invest my time into a business or advancing my brand, and how over the last few years, realizing how like fleeting time was, they became my reason because being home with them was the thing that at the end of the day, there was nothing that I wanted to do more. Like being mom was the title that was like the proudest for me to carry. No accolade, no like professional title meant as much. And I just talked about how I valued my time with them in these early years of their life. And I'm so grateful that I made the choice to build a brand and like did the scary thing and was willing to fumble and fall and figure it out because it's the thing that led me to have this time at home with my kids. And I then just dropped a link to the information page on the thing that I was sharing. And I did have some slides after this. I was going to post them. It's not that I didn't feel like they were relevant, but it was just more like behind the scenes of my day, like things that I was like literally doing on, it was a Wednesday, I believe, when I made this slide. And so for the people watching, they're also able to see like on a Wednesday, she's out hanging at the library with her kids and going to grab coffee and like doing, I think we went to like the Taylor Swift movie or something like this. I don't even know what we were doing. But things that on a typical Wednesday, if you were someone who worked a traditional 9 to 5, like you wouldn't be able to do. So it gives like that little bit of like aspiration as well and a peek into the life that has been possible for me because of the process of building a brand. So still taking them behind the scenes while also like positioning what I was sharing at the moment as a solution to a problem or something that gets them closer to this desire point that they have in relation to what I was offering. And that is really all that I chimed in on, you guys, because like I said, I feel like I need to sit back and learn a lot from Carly and Alexa when it comes to stories because they are so much more knowledgeable on the topic than myself, but we are all learning from each other. And that's the beautiful thing about collaboration. So I'm going to send it back over to Alexa.
Yes, no, we're all at different levels and chapters. I literally just posted a reel about that, so go watch it. Story example. So I'm just gonna give you guys like, I just copy pasted a ton of these. Okay, so we're just gonna look at my stories, and I think that's the best way, like just to actually see it. I'm a visual learner. Anybody else a visual learner? Yeah. Okay, great. So the highlight tool, I'm going to actually show you a video of how I do this. So stay tuned. I love this. This is how I storytell. I really like these. If you don't like to read, you're not going to like it. So it's fine. But like these two are just like, oh, like I've been thinking about this. Like I was thinking about MRR versus soul. So I took a selfie and I just talked about it. And I said, my DMs are open, like I'm always inviting people in. Always end with some type of call to action, even if it's just like my DMs are open or there's a seat at the table for you, something like that. Like always end with a call to action, always end with in the DMs, right? Because we sell with stories, but you close in the DMs, okay? You want everybody to be in your DMs. You want it to be overflowing, okay? Yes, voice message too. And so I just spill my thoughts out onto, I was gonna say paper. It's not paper, it's a digital screen. But like you can just do black and keep up with like some of the same emojis. I think that's really helpful too. Again, brand recognition. Okay. I typically stay with like browns and like mauves and stuff like that. But I share my heart. on, again, I was going paper, digital. These build on each other. I was just talking about, as a mom, you get shamed either way. I have family are the best. Family's the best, but it can also be the worst. Okay. And it's so funny because you can get shamed either way. If you're working full time, you're being shamed that you are working full time and you're away from your babies. If you're not, you're weird and you're doing a disservice for your children and they're not being socialized and you need to have a life. I've been told both. It's whatever. You can't please everyone. So we just move on. Okay. So I just talked about that. Okay. And just what God has been doing in my own life. So there's an example. It's very easy. And like like my kids are in the background. I don't show their faces, but like you can't really see them. But like it sees you. I also posted this like first thing in the morning. So it's my coffee. It's my kids. They're eating. It's a little into the life, right? So how do you do this? I'm so glad you asked. I'm going to show you how to do this because this is a question I get all of the time. It's so simple. I'm going to let it restart, but you can watch it right here. You choose a photo and then, oh, let me press play. You choose a photo, and then you go up here, you press draw, you click the highlight tool, you click your color and you hold it down. You just hold and it will then be all over. Okay. Very simple. When I figured it out, I was like, wow, I've been missing this my whole life. So if you didn't know that, it's so much easier than having to go into Canva or anything. But then it's so much easier to read the words, but you still see the person. So you could do this for your cover photos. That's a really easy cover photo idea too, I wanted to say, because you could do the same color scheme. You could literally add your palette in with photos and then choose this thing, the dropper, and go over that and make sure you like hit the same color schemes. But that's just another thing you could do, adding that as a cover photo. But it's just nice because then you can read actually what's right there. So love that. Okay, tips on formatting. Let's not watch both at the same time. Let's start with this one. So how to layer photos is on this side, and then how to create a good story is on this side. So using a photo and a call to action. So this is just like an example of how I might create a reel. Not a reel. How to create a story, okay? You choose a nice aesthetic photo. It doesn't have to be aesthetic at all. But again, I love adding photos into my stories, guys. It looks so much better, okay? It just looks so much better. And then I don't have to worry about fonts and formatting and whatnot. So I screenshot from my notes all the time. I add a call to action. In this instance, it is a poll. You know, you can move it around, make it look good. If you don't like the poll, then you can then do a sticker. Okay. Like call to action, easy photo. It makes it look very nice. Bada bing, you're done. Okay. So that's adding. And then I'll like write underneath, like click for a video or something like that, as you can see. So on this side, how to layer photos in a story. So say, sorry, have that in the background. But like say you just shared your, like, what is that called? A carousel or a post. This could be a reel. You can add a photo behind it. You can make it look more aesthetically pleasing. So you fill it, you fold it down, and you can push it behind. Okay, does that make sense? You just add the photo on and you hold it down again and you can like swipe and then you can layer your photo. So you could do this with actual photos. You can do this with your posts. You can do this with your reels. It's a new trick. They didn't have this. This is recent, like that they added this into Instagram. So use it. It's super cute. You can look different this way and more aesthetically pleasing. You can go on Pinterest and find a bunch of like stock photos that are in your color scheme and just use those in the background, you know, something cute. It just sets you apart. It shows that you know what you're doing. Branding, it's cute. Just some tips. Make yourself look cute. Okay.
Okay, so I want to get to a few of these before bedtime.
I'm like, who's talking? It's me. Adding pictures into stories. I've said this before, but these are just some examples. And I know Chelsea said like screenshot, you know, questions and whatnot. I don't ask permission. I just do it. You can kind of, I always like get a little bit of the circle just because when other people do that, I challenge myself sometimes to figure out who it is And I know there's other people who stalk that bad. So I think it's fun. And also, I actually think it encourages people, at least for me, to ask questions. Like maybe they want to be on my story. Maybe they don't care that much, but that's what I think. So anyway, so like this one says, I have this, so thankful for people that will still talk to people, even if their account is way small. I appreciate you always answering my questions. I've gotten this so much. So I don't know. I didn't get the handbook for when I went viral. Like you don't talk to people after 100,000 or something, but people say this all the time. So I was like, that's so sweet. I'm going to treat you the same if you have 1,000 followers, 10,000 or 100,000 followers. So, and then as I'm sharing soul, I want to make sure like to share testimonies, just like Chelsea said, like, especially as we get products and stuff, you want to show other people, like, it's not just you. You're not the only one succeeding in business here. You're not the only one loving the glow drink. Like sharing other people's, like someone might relate to someone else better than you know what I mean? So that's why me, Chelsea, and Carly are sharing. You might connect more with me. You might connect more with Carly or Chelsea. Like we're all different people. So screenshotting just like what this business has done for both of them, etc. 4 ways to get paid. This is a very easy way to just kind of screenshot, as especially if you're like posting a bunch of ranks. People don't understand ranks. Also, I want to say this, do not feel like you have to post 1,000 ranks. Okay. It's a very strategic thing doing it, and your account might be right for it. It might not be right for it. I really wanted to show other people success. I have a lot of people who are following me who are from other network marketing companies who have been in the industry before. So it makes sense. But if you have like a full motherhood account or sourdough account, like showing ranks, like she hit L5 or L3, like it doesn't make sense. But preface it with like, there's 4 ways to get paid. These are the levels. This is the set pay per month that you get for just doing this, So you could show this and then show your face and explain it by talking. Like that would be a really good way, because I think it's so important to note with our compensation plan too. Like we have 4 ways to get paid, right? But like you can team build, but you could also just be an affiliate and earn 40% commission. Okay. I've been in the affiliate marketing industry. You don't get 40% commission. Okay. So share that, but a great way, aesthetic photo, you use the highlight tool, then you add the photos on top, like layer your stuff. It looks really good, but it looks better adding, a little bit of you than just doing like a plain solid background. Sometimes timing doesn't allow for it, but it looks aesthetically pleasing. Then, is it in Canada though? Yes, it's in Canada. Like half of my girls are in Canada. I love it. So, I kept getting that question. So I'm going to screenshot it. It's a question people ask. I'm going to put it in there. And then must have missed this, but it might be on another one. But then after this one, I put a poll and I said, like, we are launching in the next year. Like we're going more global. Where are you? And I put like UK, Australia, Mexico, etc. Because if you didn't know, we are expanding. I'm not allowed to say where it's going to probably be, but it's exciting. It's exciting stuff. So global expansion is going to be huge, guys. Like it's like beginner day one stuff. Like if you have been on the ride since like the very beginning and you saw how crazy like first day was, like it's just going to be like that on repeat for other countries. So, and then the amazing question box. Yes, use it. Yes, share other people's questions. Feel free to ask your own questions, right? Not many people are going to say, like, ask something very specific about the comp plan. But if you know that 40% commission is something to hype up, did I ask that myself? I did. So this is like
craziness. So number one, there is no startup fee. There is no startup fee if you want to be affiliate, if you want to team build, however you want to do this business, even if it's just sharing links and getting paid for that, totally fine. And anyone, even if you just want to do affiliate, can earn up to 40% commission. Now that does have the caveat of you need to have.
So you can hear that, right? Okay, I was like, yeah, you guys are probably thinking I'm crazy if you couldn't hear that. But yeah, I just explained it, and it's okay if you say it's okay if your kids are screaming in the background. That's also something I get all the time. They're like, oh, I can't voice message like my kids. I'm like, Mercy, don't hit your brother. I'm so sorry, my kids are right here. Like, who's not going to relate to that if you're a mom, So don't be afraid of that. Ask your own questions. Also answer the questions that are given, etc. Highlights that build. I really like this. Like if there's a call you want someone to look at or get on one night, or if you want to send someone the comp plan video, like if you put all of this, so all 6 slides onto one, most likely half the people, I don't know about you, but when I look at like stories, I'm like, I don't read half of it. So if you make this something important into 6 slides, they're going to read it more than if it was just on one slide. Does that make sense? Like people are engaged in like 0.3 seconds. We're a horrible culture. It's fine. But that is like the statistics. You need to like hook someone in 0.3 seconds. It's wild. So tonight is going to be big. You see it again. Tonight's going to be good. Going to be big. So many questions are going to be answered. Company name, blah, blah, blah. This is like when we launched, right? So you keep adding. So then new slide, add on the slide, add on the slide, and call to action. Say it with me. Call to action. We need the call to action, guys. Otherwise, most people aren't just going to DM you, maybe eventually, but we're leading them. We're leading the new followers like sheep. I've been saying dogs. I should say sheep, like shepherds. Sounds biblical. Anyway, is this for you? Let's talk through a few things. I think I want to do this. Send me the call info. Yeah, so you can get creative. I really wish they had just this with like 1 and not 2, but they don't yet. So anyway, and with a call to action, highlights that build. This is another example. I don't know why these actually ended up being videos, but it is what it is. These are pictures. I ended with a video. I actually made this. If you go into the Soul content group, this exact thing I put with different backgrounds, not just my face. So you can literally go and do this. This is a very good one to put in a highlight, okay? Because I like links in highlights, which obviously you put everything in a highlight, but again, like a sticker, you can't click after 24 hours. So that's where links come into play. But I don't recommend throwing out links until you maybe have like a good bit under you, because most people aren't going to do a lot with links. Like I would rather you have 20 conversations in the DMs than post 1 link, okay? Like you need to talk in the DMs. But this example is in the Content Soul Telegram chat. But I'm just saying, like, I'm talking about pre-launch. I'm saying, okay, here's where you start first. Like, why is this different? And this is the comp plan video. This is the no. This is the opportunity video. This is the compensation video. I like to send both of those always. And then what's next? You need to choose whatever products you're going to use. And then, I talk about timing and whatnot. And then this is my link to sign up. So that's another example of how you can build. All of these were actually a video and I just screenshotted like from it. Like I don't typically do that because it's kind of blurry, but when I do that, then it's black and white because black and white's cute if it's blurry. Incorporating click.
And then you
call.
just
Okay,
choose
no,
whatever
okay.
product
Too
aligns
much.
with that, right? So we
Okay. Incorporating click call to actions. This is a great one. I talk about all the time. We need call to actions on stories, okay? And this is all about business because we obviously can't sell products yet, but we're going to incorporate products very, very soon, mid-July. It's going to be shipped out. So also, once products are shipped out, I very much highly recommend like starting some type of group chat or list of people who went in on the products August 1st. So like kind of starting your, I don't know what you would call it, just a list, of people. So anyway, we'll talk about that when it launches. Oh, there's that example about countries. So UK, Australia, Mexico, other European countries. Here, click here for a closer look at what we are creating here and how you can link arms with us, become a founder, 40% commissions, all the things, link all the things, click. This talks about just how I've been looking for a place where I can talk about affiliate marketing, digital marketing, and building a brand because that's so important to me, like so important to me. So that's another click sticker. And this was just like recently, I'll play it really quickly.
for 4th of July so far, which is really nice. We've had like so much like go. But guys, I am so excited about this training. I've had so many of you guys reach out and be like, how have you had such incredible growth so fast? How have you
Both of these are like a minute long, so you can listen to all this a little later when we send out the PDF. But here's the
have
end.
digital products, we have courses, we're gonna have the clean beauty. There's something for everyone here, which is just so, I'm so excited about because the comp plan, it just aligns with it too.
It goes on for a minute as well. But then I add the call to action right on top, right? Like click here and something. It says something. Click here for a video, click here for something. So you get the point. Okay. If you guys ask why your stories are not working and you have no call to actions, I'm going to send you all these slides. Okay. Call to actions. And then equipment that I love because people keep asking me about that. I love this tripod. When we send this out, you can actually click here and it'll just send you to like a bunch of things I've linked. This is my ring light that I'm using right now because my house has horrible lighting. This is like only $8, guys, but like there's so many times where I'm just like FaceTiming. It just is super handy to have around. I want to incorporate this more because I think reels with little microphones are just so cute and they're inexpensive. So set yourself apart. You just look like you know your stuff if you have a microphone in your hand. Tell me I'm crazy. I'm not. Like it's 100% true. And then I want to talk about this tripod again. It's amazing. It's the best thing ever. It goes so tall, incredibly tall, and it has like a clicker button. It's great. And it's like super small. I love it. So yes, that's what we got on stories. So let's stop here. Nope. Okay, I'm gonna